Hello everyone and welcome to the Constructive Criticism Network. This network is here to help you improve at Magic the Gathering at every level. From Pauper Leagues to Top 1000 Mythic, we've got you covered. If you want to hear the entire network, head on over to our sponsor at puremtgo.com, where you can hear each and every show, each and every week, and check out their sponsor, MTGO Traders, and tell them that the CCMTG Network sent you. Now sit back, enjoy the show. From YouTube, podcasts, and more, here's this week's episode from ConstructiveCriticism.com.
Hello everybody, and welcome to episode 137 of the Common Knowledge Podcast. I'm your host Christian, and I'm joined by our co-host Brad.
Hello everybody.
Before we got too far into this episode, I just want to remind everyone that Common Knowledge and all of the podcasts on the Constructive Criticism Network are sponsored by puremtgo.com. If you wanted to support the show, make sure to like, share, and subscribe to the Common Knowledge YouTube channel, and check out our Patreon. With that out of the way, let's get on with the podcast for the week.
Woohoo! What is going on, my friend?
Oh, nothing. Just been working, been taking care of Harper.
Yep.
You know, the normal stuff. Madden 22 recently came out, and I have not acquired it at the moment, but I've seen a lot of videos of a lot of really funny bugs. And I think you and I talked about this recently, like, we miss the days when video games, like, whenever they shipped out, they were basically done, bugs and all.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
I especially feel that way whenever I see like a sports game. It's like, you know, I love the bugs.
Now, is this like an online release or physical copy?
Yeah, it's a physical disc release. Like I said, I haven't acquired my copy yet. I plan on doing that this upcoming weekend.
Okay.
But just like seeing people stream the game and like a guy's like running straight ahead and he just like falls over. It's great. And, like, obviously it's a bug that people are upset about.
Yeah.
But also it's, like, the most real-life thing I've ever seen.
Yeah. People falling over is just great.
Yeah. And it's, like, also just something that happens.
Yeah.
You know, especially, like, in the sports world. Like, maybe not as often as it does in the video game.
Sometimes there's just bloopers.
Yep.
And they are the best. Yeah, they're great.
But what about you, man? What have you been up to?
I don't know. I feel like it's been pretty busy over here lately. Shout out to my dentist who Friday made long and painful work of teeth 31 and 30. Ripped them out of my face. That was a good time. So I was pretty much laid up for the weekend. What do we do? Sunday we took a little road trip. I think I've maybe even talked about it on air, but we homeschool our son. So usually when we do like a little family day out or whatever, we'll take a little road trip and we try to make it like almost like a field trip to where it's almost educational in line with what he's going to learn in the school year or whatever. But I guess this year he's learning about Native American cultures and that sort of thing. So we took a little road trip about 2 hours south to a state historic site called Towosagi. I'm not really sure because it's like a Native American mound site, if you've ever seen any of those or pictures or anything like that. It's little bitty. It's on like 6 acres and they don't know anything about it. Like the big sign that's there when you walk in, even, you know, the name Tawasagi or whatever, it even says like this is just a colloquial name because the people that lived here kept no written records. No one knows what they called themselves and no one knows what these mounds are for. So it's pretty much just like a mowed grass area with 7 big piles of dirt, like in my backyard. I'm not sure. It was fun, but I'm not really sure why our tax money is going to that specific site through the state. But it was fun. I think the road trip itself was a lot more entertaining than the site. But, you know, it's something I've never seen before, so that was cool.
I don't know what kind of, I'm sure someone is doing it, but like what kind of work they're doing to like maybe learn a little bit more. Like certainly that exists.
I would have to look into that, but there's a big sign like on the other, towards the other entrance of the park. For some reason, there's 2 entrances. It's like at this intersection of 2 unnamed gravel roads pretty much. But there's a big sign that says we're preserving this for future, not investigators, but basically they're preserving the site and the mounds for people who want to research it. Because they don't, I guess Missouri doesn't know anything about it. So if anyone comes along that wants to dig into it literally and metaphorically, then more power to them, I guess. But it was okay. It was fun.
Yeah, man, that's great. I don't know. I really like stuff like that. Mm-hmm. Especially like to me, a lot of times, like you said, the best part is like the trip anyways.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, and it was just me and my wife and our son, and we just packed up and went south on 55 for a couple hours and then turned right back around.
heck yeah,
So it
man.
was good times.
Well, that's what's going on in your personal life.
Yep.
You've been getting to play any Magic?
I have not. Last week was pretty busy at work, and then we were sort of getting everything ready for the beginning of the homeschool year. I was getting everything kind of ready for me being laid up all weekend due to the dentist appointment. So I think I played a few games. I popped in the tournament practice room a couple times. I'm not even really sure what decks I played. I just have my list in my collection, and I'll just click on one and go to the practice room and play it. I think I played some Serpentine Curve, like the Is It version, and maybe some Brute Squad, and feel like I tried out something really terrible, but I can't remember. What about you?
Yeah, actually, I've been playing Blue-White Reanimator, sort of. I got a couple of matches in with it. I'm looking to play it more with the rest of the week. It's whatever the most recent Snapbolt Games list is what I'll be playing.
Excellent. How do you like that deck? I've only played against it, but I've never actually put it together or anything.
Basically just like value and sanity.
Yeah.
I'm not sure that I know a lot about it yet, but I think what the cards do and how they interact with each other is fairly obvious. And I think why each one of the cards might be good with the other cards is very obvious. And that like every card that you play is meant to be either reanimated or flickered just to get insane value. And all of these cards do something good on their own as well. Like Mole Drifter, for example, is like a card that you're just fine playing. Yeah,
Mole Drifter and Stonehorn Dignitary. And are there any other creatures in that deck? Those are the only two that I...
Yeah, I forget the name of the other one, but it's a creature with Evoke. Whenever it enters the battlefield, it creates 2 1/1s. Yeah.
Oh, it's the new token one. Yeah, from Modern Horizons 2. Yeah, I always forget the name of that too. I know when I'm playing against it, there's a certain point where the deck just feels inevitable and I'm going to lose. Does it feel like that when you're playing it? Like, if you evoke the Mole Drifter for the second time and get down the Stonehorn Dignitary, you've locked up the game. Is it that kind of feeling?
Yeah, first I wanted to say that card was Soul Migration. Yeah, I would say sometimes it can feel that way. Like I said, I haven't played it too much, maybe like 4, 5, 6 matches. That much like Tron, and sometimes you get Archaeomancer, Stonehorn Dignitary, Ephemerate loops going where like your opponent can't really do anything. That can definitely happen here. There's cards like Angelic Renewal and stuff as well that you can like proactively put in place, like if your opponents play like counterspells and stuff to have like...
Yeah, I love that card. I'm glad that card's finally seeing play.
Yeah, just stuff like that kind of makes all these cards very, very strong. I would say that I think the best card in the deck is Stonehorn Dignitary, and it's not particularly close.
Right.
But it's also a very swingy card where sometimes it basically just does nothing. So you can't play the full 4, unfortunately. But I really like it.
Now I see Snapbolt Games, he's always posting on Twitter about the deck, 3 2s and 4 1s in leagues and stuff. What do you think? I know your experience with it is a little minimal or not definitely up to his level, but what do you think is keeping it from 5-0ing on the regular? Is it just unlucky draws, unlucky matchups, or is there a specific like weakness to the deck?
I don't know. I didn't get a chance to watch his videos yet. I think that'll kind of tell the full tale of the tape on it. For me, I would say that like one of the main things is that there are decks in Pauper that have not necessarily unbeatable draws, but draws that are really close to it. So I think the deck is really strong. I think it's a deck that you could hop in a league in 5-0 with. I think it's a deck that you could hop in a challenge in top 16 or top 8 with. But I do want to say that the number of like unbeatable busted draws for that deck are probably a little bit less than the other decks.
Yeah.
But it is nice that there are actually a few, I want to say more rogue things going on right now in Pauper that I think could be competitive. And it's been really nice to see that. Kind of got me out of the funk that I and a lot of other people had been feeling. And I think a lot of people are starting to come around to that idea that maybe there's something, like there's some stuff that can be playable.
Something else out there. Yeah, and I also wanted to mention to all the Patreons, the iTunes listeners, podcast listeners, YouTube viewers, wherever you may find us, that we're still running our new logo competition. So if you have ideas for us, bring them on. We're going to give it till about October 1st, I think, and then we'll pick a winner. Try to give us an actual idea. not just vague descriptions of what you think would be cool. Try to actually give us a design, and we shall pick the winner. We'll probably do it live on air, live on a podcast, and the winner will get some sweet swag like a custom play mat with the new logo on it. So if that's something you're interested in, hit us up on Twitter, message us wherever you may find us, hit us up on email, and send over your ideas. I don't think most of the listeners know, but we actually sat down Sunday evening to record this episode. And during our little pre-show chat, we kind of decided that we were just too much in a funk about current state of Pauper, and we were going to give it a few days and try to focus on nothing but the positive stuff and visit it again Tuesday, and I feel better.
Absolutely, I definitely feel better. The owner of the Constructive Criticism Network and also really good friend of ours, Spencer Howland, is somebody that I'm really glad to know personally, and he doesn't always preach like positivity and stuff, but speaking to him sometimes, even if it's not about magic, can really change how I view things. And he and I had a discussion like last week and a half ago that like I've been thinking about just like focusing more on the positives of this stuff. And after you and I like stepped away, whenever we sat back down to get this going, we actually came up with a lot of stuff that we love that's going on in the format right now. So I'm excited to jump in and talk about it.
Did you want to talk about the big announcement today from Wizards? There's some pretty cool stuff in there, I thought.
Oh yeah, that'll be the first place that we start. This isn't necessarily Pauper specific.
No, it's just for me anyway. I thought it's a lot of information. It's a ton of product, but I'm a little more excited about this particular announcement than I have been in a while, and I don't really know why, honestly. I'm only interested in like 10% of the article, but I'm excited about it as a whole, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. If you want, we can just pick out kind of like our favorite things from the article. I know what my favorite thing is.
Yeah, basically, WotC put out a huge announcement today, kind of laying out the groundwork, the outline for what's to come to the game in 2022 and 2023, I believe, as far as sets, supplemental products, secret lairs, all that good stuff. And we won't, obviously read the entire article or anything to you, but there's a lot of really interesting stuff in here, a lot of stuff that I'm completely indifferent to, stuff I actively don't care about, but we can sort of get to that. What caught your eye to begin with here?
I'll say that there are two things that really caught my eye. One is the Pioneer Challenger decks.
Yes.
For those that don't know, Challenger decks are basically decks that Wizards come out with every now and again that can kind of intro people to the format, so it's not the optimal build of a deck, and sometimes it's not even the most optimal decks, but it's a really good starting place for people looking to get into a format. And so they're actually coming out with 4 for the Pioneer format this time around. Orzhov Auras, Azoria Spirits, Mono Red Burn, and then Sultai Lotus Field combo, I believe, is the 4th one. I think it's Sultai.
Yeah, I think it is, but it just says, the box just says Lotus Field combo or whatever. But
yeah,
I am definitely excited about the Black-White Auras list, obviously, knowing me, but that's also, I think, pretty much since that deck hit the scene, not but a few months after Pioneer became a format, that deck caught my eye, and it's one that I've been wanting to build in paper for a long time, but I haven't wanted to shell out 150, 175, $200 for a deck that's in a format that I'll rarely play. But with this being a challenger deck, that's going to be about perfect. They don't give us the prices, obviously, but I can't imagine it being any more than half of what buying out the deck, in singles would be anyway. So I'm really excited for that one.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm super excited for it. Like I said, it's not going to be like the full power versions of these decks, but it is nice to have like the starting place, something that you can go compete and see if the format's for you to get into it.
And it's a lot like the EDH precons. They're very upgradable. Is that the word? Customizable?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yep. So yeah, that's really cool. I'll probably buy 2 of them, 2 different ones, just to in case I run into someone that wants to play or whatever. So I'm not the only one sitting there with a Pioneer deck. Because I don't know if there's a big Pioneer scene at the LGS. I have to check that out. But no, that's really cool. Yeah, that was the first thing that caught my eye as well. I was looking through. They also announced 5 or 6 new secret lairs. I'm not going to go through them all. I don't think there's a single Pauper card in any of the secret lairs. So I immediately just sort of disregard them, and none of them really caught my eye as it is anyway. So unless you specifically wanted to talk about one.
Yeah, it's one that I legitimately just didn't believe existed. It was the Fortnite Secret Lair.
Yeah, there is that one. There's going to be a Fortnite Secret Lair and a Street Fighter. That should be interesting.
Yeah, I don't know. I have recently come around to the idea that secret lairs are cool and fun, even though they're not for me. Like, I don't think I plan on purchasing one, but I really like that people have like this crossover thing that they can kind of enjoy. And I did have like a really good laugh. I was sitting at my desk at work and I got a text message in the middle of a meeting. And I just looked down at it, and it was a card that said, "Just wiped out Tomato Town." And it's like a Wrath of God Fortnite crossover sort of deal. And I legitimately didn't believe it was real. Went to the Wizards website to read if it was real, and then later was telling someone about it. And they were like, "Oh, that's not real." And I believed them, even though I read it on the Wizards website and had to like go back and be like, "No, this is real." So
yeah, it's pretty unbelievable. Yeah, it caught me by surprise too. I thought it was a joke at first with the Street Fighter. That's crazy. I didn't watch any of the announcement. I think they live streamed it, the whole thing, but I didn't get to watch any of it. So I'm just sort of referring back to the article. But it's crazy. Some arena announcements. Not too big on announcements, or arena anyway. It was one thing I was thinking of too. A lot of people have been suffering the spoiler fatigue as of late. I love spoilers, maybe because I don't play multiple formats and I don't play on multiple platforms. I may fire up Arena like once a month and do some drafts or whatever to get my fix, but I really just care about MTGO and Pauper. So I can handle spoilers like all the time. I love new Magic cards. I love new cardboard, shiny new arts, all that good stuff. Pretty much starting September 2nd when Innistrad gets spoiled, it feels like for the next year and a half is going to be nothing but spoilers.
I'm the kind of person that my love or hatred for spoilers comes down to, am I excited about the set? And based off of the set spoiled, I think I'm really excited. I'm trying not to hype myself up too much, but I'm feeling pretty positive about all the sets that are teed up.
Yeah, they've done really good with the sets in the last couple of years, but with the sets that they announced for next year, I feel like there's only really two ways these sets can go. Like, they're going to be awesome, or they're going to waste their time on it. You know what I mean? Those sets, I guess we could list those out. The first one to come out in Q1 of 2022, it'll be the winter set, I guess, is the new Kamigawa Neon Dynasty, like a steampunk Kamigawa. So we are revisiting that set, or that plane, I guess, but in a different time?
Yeah, so from what I understand, Kamigawa, is kind of like the old, Japanese lore sort of deal where it's based off of a lot of that mythos. And I think this Kamigawa set is going to be based on a near future Japan, if that makes any sense, or more of what's going on in Japanese fiction media right now. So I'm pretty excited for it.
Yep, says it's filled with high-tech delight, so we'll see what that brings. The next one after that, right after Kamigawa, is one that I kind of got a chuckle out of, is the Streets of New Capenna. Capenna. It's basically a gangster plane. There's mob families, and they're run by three-color demon crime families, is what it says in the article.
Yeah, so from what I understand, this is a city in Elspeth's home plane, but it's been taken over by demon mafia bosses.
Yeah, pretty much.
For anyone that knows me, I not recently, within the past year and a half, I've been getting into the Godfather movies. As soon as you told me about this, because I didn't know about it until you told me, it struck a chord. I was like, ooh.
Nice. And after that, we are revisiting Dominaria with Dominaria United. It's the 30th anniversary celebration of Magic, so basically they're going back to where it all started. So that should be fun. The first Dominaria was awesome. A lot of cool stuff came out of that one.
Yeah, I'm excited for common planeswalkers with static abilities.
Yep, it's coming. You know it's coming. 30th anniversary. It only makes sense.
Exactly.
And then finally, the last standard set for next year is the Brothers' War. We're revisiting Mishra and Urza going at it. What do you think? Are you a big lore guy?
I'm not a super big lore guy, but I really like Urza, and I really like Mishra. The cards, not necessarily who they are as people in the lore. And the Brothers' War is something that I'm really excited to be detailed. A lot of detail in the game. I think it's something that if they do it right, at least by my standards, it would probably be my favorite set. I don't know. I'm really into like the concept of like brotherhood and like broken brotherhood and stuff. And I know that that's not like the entire story of like the Brothers' War, right? Because like there's a lot of stuff that goes on that's just like tragic and stuff. But like I think that that's like the heart of what the storytelling will be.
Yeah, I hope they pull it off really well where they can actually get that story across through the cards. Like they used to be able to, like sometimes they still attempt to do. But yeah, it should be awesome. I feel like, I'm not a big lore guy or Vorthos guy or whatever either, but I feel like the Brothers' War is probably the most significant in the entire game. If not, it's the most well-known, I think.
Yeah, I can agree. I would say that maybe like Zendikar and Innistrad as far as like well-known, and then after that, like the Brothers' War sort of details. But I would say like the Brothers' War is probably like the most well-known actual like incident in lore.
Good way to put it. That's pretty much it. There's another Silver Border unset coming out. We'll see what that brings us. And then there's a new Commander Legends coming out, which I am very excited about. It's a D&D based Commander Legends set titled Battle for Baldur's Gate. I absolutely love Baldur's Gate. I just recently bought the PC game for it. I've been streaming it a little bit. It's my favorite thing in D&D. The first Commander Legends was fun if you didn't buy the foils, so this should be pretty awesome, I think. Kind of a mix of a supplementary Commander set with D&D. So, yeah, that'd be pretty cool. What do you think?
I'm excited. I love all things D&D usually.
And yeah, that's pretty much it. Oh, there's another Double Masters 2022 coming out. The first Double Masters was awesome. Kind of pricey, but it was awesome. A lot of reprints, a lot of good cards. New awkward Urza lands, but they're cool. There's a new Jumpstart product coming out, and then it kind of goes into the Universes Beyond products, if that's something you want to talk about. I don't know how I feel about them yet.
Yeah, absolutely. I sort of touched on the Fortnite one already.
Yeah.
Just because that's like, again, something I didn't believe was real. I had a lot of friends that were really into Warhammer 40k when I was younger. And the fact that they're coming out with commander decks based around stuff from the Warhammer 40k lore, I think is really, really genius. Because I think it is going to grow Magic a lot. Like, just that one thing is going to make people say, like, people in these spaces adjacent to Magic, I think will get into Magic. And that's one of the things that, like, I really want to drive home, like, that kind of changed my mind about, like, secret layers and stuff in general, is that I think more people playing Magic is good, and I believe that these give people a reason, if they're in a space adjacent to Magic, to try Magic over something else.
It took me a surprisingly long time to accept it, but the infamous Morrow quote now, this product may not be for you. That's okay. It took me a while to accept that, but it actually is okay. If you don't like something, Magic's got a million other products and formats for you to play. You don't have to buy the Warhammer Commander decks or any of the stuff we're talking about. If you don't want it, don't buy it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, I think the Warhammer, those are just going to be Commander decks, correct?
From what I understand, it appeared to be that's what I read, but I also don't want to speak with any, 1,000% certainty on it. Also, coming out, the Lord of the Rings Tales of Middle-earth. That's going to be a full Magic set. I believe it's going to be in Standard, if I understand it correctly. But yeah, that's going to be a full set. So I don't know. I assume they'll have Commander decks to go along with it, like every other set, but it won't just be Commander decks or anything like that. That sounds exciting. That's coming, I think, 2 years from now?
Yeah, 2023. It doesn't say what part of the year, but yeah, 2023. It'll be a full Magic release. Coming to Tabletop, Magic Online, Magic Arena, plus 4 Commander decks and special secret lair drops. So it's going to have a little bit of everything for Lord of the Rings.
Heck yeah, man.
Which makes sense. It's probably the biggest fantasy story or environment ever.
Yeah, I agree.
I'm okay with it. I don't know. I'm still kind of old man yelling at the clouds about it. I don't want to cast Frodo. You know what I mean? I don't want to tap my Shire for green mana. I don't know. It's weird. I'll probably love it, though, once it comes out.
I think that that's something that, at some point, you might be, old man yelling at clouds. But, it is important to remember, just because, I've came around to these things, that people's complaints about this stuff at times is probably really legitimate.
Sure.
And sometimes it's really hard for something that, you loved to change in a way that maybe you don't like.
Right.
And so I definitely also think that people should have, a little bit more empathy, I think.
Remember when the D&D set was spoiled and they came out with +2 mace?
Yeah, and how much I'm
worried that, the entire Lord of the Rings set is going to make me feel that way.
Yep. No comment.
Yeah.
No comment.
So. But that's pretty much it. We're not like a news podcast or anything, but that's pretty much the happenings around the world for the next 2 years. 2.5, something like that.
But now we can kind of get on to our 9 favorite things that are happening in mostly Pauper right now, if you want.
Yeah, these are the silver linings that we decided to look for over the last 2 days.
Do you want to kick us off with number 1?
Sure. Number 1, I think, is one of the bigger things to have happened, at least to the Magic Online community and the Twitter community. It was sort of spearheaded by cardsrealm.com. They, once it was obvious that WotC wasn't going to ban anything out of Modern Horizons 2 yet, and I think this was about a month ago or so, they decided to make their own custom ban list for all of their events going forward on Magic Online. And it's not like Cards Realm runs all the tournaments. They have a handful of people, Alexander Weber, Tiago, all these people that run their own events through Cards Realm's site. But they all use this custom ban list, and I would have to look it up exactly to know what it is, but I know they banned Chatterstorm, obviously. I think they banned the Salamander from Affinity, and I know they banned the Silver Bluff Bridge, the blue-red indestructible artifact land.
Yeah, all those are exactly correct. What I personally like about this is a lot of people are kind of the mentality, like, if you don't like something, do something about it. Right. And sometimes it's not the best mentality to have because sometimes people literally can't do something about it.
Right.
And this is like something that was like really surprising because I thought like, oh, you don't like the current ban list, do something about it was like a ridiculous statement. And then a bunch of people got together and did something about it.
Yep.
So
like instantly too, it took a lot of people by surprise. It wasn't like they put out, the announcement of the announcement tweet saying we're working on this. It was just like, hey, we're fed up with the current meta. Here's our ban list. Come play in our events.
Yeah, it was literally like, hey, there's been this group text going on for like 30 minutes now. We've found the solution.
Yep. Pretty easy.
Yeah, so that's really awesome. Like I said, not only is the ban list cool, I also think it kind of goes back to something that I feel like Cards Realm has always done a really good job of, which is experimenting with different formats and stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, like, I know that you were involved in Singleton Pauper for a while, and all stuff like that is awesome. We deserve as much variety in the game as we can afford.
Yep.
And doing stuff like this is a way to give variety that isn't just variety for variety's sake and has a purpose.
Right, exactly. And they don't put up a bunch of money. It's not like you can stop playing challenges on MTGO and go to Cards Realm and make, 100 tickets a day or anything like that. Most of them are free. I think they're sponsored a little bit, so they may give out some like bot credits and some ticks here and there, but it's definitely fun. I've played in a few of them. They're great. What's the next one up, sir?
Yeah, so number 2 on our list is a content creator that you and I rave about pretty much every week.
Yeah,
right now.
Seems like it. Yep.
Snapbolt Games has given me a lot of positivity to think about in the format. Just, watching some of his videos, even though I haven't seen the most recent ones around the deck that I've been playing. Every time I watch his videos, even the ones about stuff that doesn't necessarily excite me, he goes about it in a relatively positive way that makes me feel happy to be involved in the community.
Yeah, he's definitely one of the happiest content creators we have, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's why I wanted to throw him on the list.
Yeah, absolutely. And he's worth every minute. Some of his videos are short. Some of them are him playing an entire league, so they can get to 2.5 hours long. But it's not like a lot of streamers or video makers, content creators that just sit there and let you watch them play. Like, he goes through his decisions and his card decisions and his play decisions and kind of everything, and sort of just brings you along for his journey through the league.
Yeah, he's really good at talking, and I say that with a lot of sincerity, and that something that I think hurts Magic content a lot, especially like I know that I struggle with it a lot as well, is sometimes just not knowing what to say.
Yeah.
And it seems like unless like his opponent is taking like a really long time to make a decision or something, like an egregious amount of time,
right,
that it seems like he always has more and more analysis that is relevant to what's going on.
Yeah.
And I really enjoy that. I really enjoy people that think about the game at a really high level. And even if there's stuff that they wouldn't necessarily consider, they consider it out loud That way people know what kind of thought processes are important.
Yeah, absolutely. He's definitely an asset to the Pauper community. And he's always willing to talk about his decks, talk about changes. It's not like he does these super secret brews and then just like, bam, drops them in your face. Look what I did. He always posts them like, hey, I'm working on this. And he sort of, even on Twitter, sort of takes you through that journey. Like, I've been tweeting about this deck for 2 or 3 weeks and here's how it's going. Here's the changes I've made. So yeah, it's awesome. I think I might give you also number 3. I'm not sure exactly. I mean, I do love this card, but I'm not sure how it appeared on this list.
Yeah, so I threw number 3 on the list. It's a Mana Tithe, just the card in general. The reason why is the most recent Pauper challenge that I had looked at had a mono white heroic list.
Yes.
That was playing the full 4 Mana Tithe. And I love Mana Tithe, and I love that people are still playing mono white heroic right now.
I do too. Was that the same list that was also running Vault Scourge?
Yes.
Yes, that is awesome. I had honestly never thought about putting that card in heroic. That's fantastic.
I love Mana Tithe. I love that mono white heroic, despite how much we poop on it for not being the best, is still very much playable in Pauper and can top 8 challenges.
Yep.
And it also got my mood up about the metagame, because if mono white heroic can do it, then so can a lot of other decks, probably.
Yep. For those of you who don't know, a Mana Tithe is a single white mana for an instant counter target spell unless its controller pays 1. I don't know what it is about this card, but being on the receiving end of a Mana Tithe just feels awful. Like, it feels way more crippling than it should feel, I think.
Yeah, because it's like...
Gotcha.
Yeah, the thing about Mana Tithe, right, is like, who gets Mana Tithe? To like, the guy that didn't think about Mana Tithe.
Yeah, it's almost a meme. Yep. Oh, that's awesome. Next on the list... This will be called number 4 here. This is more of an overview, more of a general one, but I think we've both been pretty, not just the last 2 days since we dedicated ourselves to think about the silver linings and the rainbows, but really over the last couple months, really happy with the overall Pauper community as a whole. All the input, I know some people are pretty upset with the meta and WotC's not doing anything about it, but just like that blue-white deck you've been playing, there are some really good things to have come out in the last few months. There's still people brewing. A lot of cool decks are being played. We have, maybe I'm just not as entrenched in other formats, but it feels like we have a lot of devotees to Pauper that just aren't going to go anywhere. They're still going to work on the format, even if that means tired of the online meta, so I'm going to see what's going on at the LGS if it's safe, or I'm going to try to throw together a spell table setup so I can play my paper decks that are fair and not run into squirrels, that sort of thing.
I agree. All of those parts of the Pauper community are really grand. Another thing about the Pauper community that I really like is how giving it is. Constantly seeing people gift each other like cards and stuff like that. Like people that they only know online and live thousands of miles away.
Yep.
Is really, really nice to see. One thing in particular is we had a member of the community that needed emergency funds, I believe, to do some traveling because they had a death in the family.
Yeah, it was not completely unexpected, but yeah, it was a death in the family.
Yeah, and the Pauper community came together to make sure that person could do what they needed to do. And stuff like that.
It was fast, too. It was within 45 minutes or so. They had all the money they needed to take this trip, and that was it. It wasn't like a vacation. They even put out a tweet saying, okay, I'm not taking any more. Thank you. This is all I need. Just taking the minimum. It was great. It was awesome. Yeah,
seeing a community come together like that. It's happened a few times in the greater Magic community, but it was really touching to see it come from basically a bunch of people that are really only known for being in Pauper Discords.
Yeah. Pauper Discords, never seeing them in person sort of thing. Seeing them maybe on Spell Table or in, Discord video chat or something. But yeah, it's really awesome. One thing I like to do too, like you brought up, like gifting cards and sending stuff to people. If I've ever received an envelope from anyone that I've met online, cards, trading cards, buying cards from people or whatever, I always keep their address just in case, friend of the show, Blake, Big B. When I opened up some Modern Horizons, I think I got a couple old border, the one that eats tokens, the Glimmer Baron. Mm-hmm. And I was like, I don't think I'm ever going to play this card, but he fell in love with it the minute it was spoiled. So here, I have his address on an envelope in my closet. I'm just going to send it to him, that sort of thing. And it's awesome. You can do that with Pauper because it's cheap. You probably pay more in postage than you will for the cards.
Yes.
And it'll make somebody's week if that just shows up randomly.
Yep, absolutely. Up next on the list, number 5 is 5-color Turbo Fog.
Yes, this is intriguing.
Winner from the Fugate Championship 43 at first place with a 4-0 is just a 5-color Turbo Fog deck that plays Jace's Erasure and Stream of Thought as its win con.
That is
and
awesome.
Literally it's just like a bunch of Thriving Lands, Ash Barrens, 4 Deserts, and a bunch of cards that either fog, draw cards, remove creatures, or gain life.
So pretty much the best of each color.
Yeah, I don't know how to put it any differently than that, but I like it, and I love it.
That's awesome.
And I want some more of it.
I've actually been wanting to build a Turbo Fog list in paper, but it can get surprisingly pricey. Maybe I'll have to look at this list and see if it's any more reasonable.
Yeah, that's, I think, like, Muddle the Mixture might be the most expensive card in it.
Yep, Muddle the Mixture. A lot of the decks play a full play set of, like, Tangle, which are like $3 for some reason. Just stuff like that, yeah.
Yeah. What do we got up next?
Up next probably ties into a couple of the ones we've already talked about, but I wanted to sort of give them their own slot here, and that is all the Pauper content creators that have, I don't want to say, haven't given up yet in this trying time or whatever. I mean, it is miserable. The meta is miserable. All the data ends up the same every week. But there is still like Snapbolt Games and Mind Gears and all these other people. There's still a handful of devoted content creators that are going to just do what they do, and they're going to be happy about it, and they're going to give you the content that they want to see. You know what I mean?
Hats off to them. Selfishly, hats off to us as well.
Sure. I'll take it.
Like we said earlier, we're really feeling like we were in a weird place, almost like a podcasting writer's block this past weekend. And we literally just decided, like, hey, let's give it a few days and come away with a bunch of good stuff. And that is something to be celebrated.
And that's not just for content creation. That's for any endeavor, writing, songwriting. I mean, anything you're trying to learn or do or create, it works just to take a step back and clear your mind a little bit, do something completely different. I think it helped that today and yesterday I was super busy at work, so I didn't really have much of a chance to focus on Twitter MTG and this and that, and get kind of bogged down again. So I think that helped clear my mind out a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree.
We were on the content creators, giving them sort of pats on the back and stuff. And that goes for, I know a lot of content creators have, editors, people that, I chat a lot with the people that actually run Cards Realm, people behind the scenes too that help make this stuff possible. It's huge. There's a lot of video editors, podcast editors, website administrators, I guess. They get the kudos as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Fernando, that is you. Fernando is our editor that keeps this thing going. He is phenomenal. Thank you, Fernando.
All the comments and compliments we've gotten in the last, 6 or 8 weeks about how the show sounds better, audio sounds better, all that stuff, that is all him.
Yep. Up next, this is one that I'm going to let you take. You introduced it as decks that are fun to play.
Yeah, for a while there, and I think a lot of players are maybe still in this sort of funk, but it was sort of just demoralizing, for lack of a better word, to open up MTGO and attempt to even play in the tournament practice room, because you would just see Affinity and you would see Blue-Black Delver and you'd possibly see a Storm deck. So I kind of, in the last 3 or 4 weeks, I kind of got to the point where I was just like, I'm just going to play what's fun. Decks that before Modern Horizons 2 released, decks that were going 5-0 or decks that may have shown up in a challenge here or there that are just completely off the map now that the meta's changed, but they're still so much fun. You could still have a winning record with them. You may not be able to make an income off of them, on MTGO or anything like that, but just decks like I mentioned earlier, Serpentine Curve decks. I play the Izzet version, the blue-red version. It's a lot of fun. The Mono Black Rogues deck is pretty much just the 1-drop Morsel Theft deck. That's a lot of fun, and just stuff like that. You kind of have to know what you're getting into with MTGO, but at the same time not care what you're getting into, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. That does make sense. And decks that are fun to play. If you're playing Pauper, play something that's fun to play for you.
Yep, absolutely. Especially in times like this, when you don't want to get in challenges or leagues or anything like that. Yep, the key is there to have fun, I think.
Mm-hmm, absolutely. I'll also let you take the next one, because you've been doing a lot of this thing.
Yeah, I haven't. It's funny. I haven't actually played any PDH or Pauper Commander or Pauper Highlander, whatever you want to call it. But I was really immersed in just researching decks and looking up deck lists. I have, I would say, 2.75 decks built. I'm still trying to figure out the last pieces for the Golgari-ish deck that I'm putting together. But I have two other decks already built and sleeved up. I don't know if they're any good. Like I said, I haven't played yet, but it's really, after looking at Pauper Commander, I can see how people just get completely submerged in actual EDH and actual Commander with brewing, and it's a lot of fun theorizing 100-card singleton decks.
I've seen a lot of your lists. We've actually talked about it here recently on the show. I don't know. PDH is really good. It looks like a lot of fun. It's really, really complicated at times, but...
Yes, it can be. And it still keeps you in the format, keeps it relevant in your mind, if that's a thing. You know, if you don't want to completely forget about Pauper or anything, it still keeps you active in the community, active in the format, and all that good stuff.
Up next is Ninth, and our last thing, and it is potential Pauper battle box with 2 question marks.
2 question marks. This is important. And I know you mentioned when we were doing the show notes and you typed this out, you were like, I think we might have different ideas of what battle box is.
Yeah, so you have a battle box in that you have built a lot of Pauper decks to play against each other.
Correct. Yep, a lot of paper decks. I can just open up the case. Everyone can grab a deck, and they're all mostly geared, sideboard at least, geared to sort of fight what's in that battle box. Yep.
But when I was introduced to the phraseology battle box, it was by my friend and constructive criticism host, Mason.
Okay.
Who basically, he has a pile of cards, a lot of them, that are all sleeved up, and it's one giant deck of cards of all colors. And Battle Box is a format where each player gets 10 lands, so usually it's 5 guild gates and 5 basic lands or something like that, that are in the command zone, basically. Starting the command zone for both players.
So this is more along the lines of the Brian DeMar's Battle Box.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
So, it's just you play 1 land each turn like normal. You have 4 card opening hand sizes.
And you always have access to the lands.
Exactly.
You're not going to flood out, or you're not going to get screwed.
Exactly, because they're in the command zone. They start out. So it's basically just a 1v1 format where if it's built right, the power level is really, really medium in that everything is around the same power level. And depending on the particular battle box, some things are obviously going to be better than others. But yeah, basically the players share one deck and play against each other. And I really loved it. It's a really cool concept to me, and it's a lot of fun to watch and to play.
And the quote unquote deck or pile or whatever can be any size, right?
Yeah. I mean, you probably want more than 60 cards just because
sure,
that's the size of one Magic deck. I have recently built one off of most of some stuff that I own and ordered a few things for it that I'm trying to keep at exactly 350 cards, not including the lands and stuff.
Almost cube size.
Exactly. But, it's a really good format that can be as cheap or as expensive as you want and can highlight whatever you want. So the one that I have built now, basically, I wanted it to be just about playing card advantage and basically kind of simulate all of the play skills that are required in a normal limited game, really highlight that. There are a few cards that might be a little bit too powerful for my battle box, but we haven't play tested it enough to really know.
Now, is yours all rarities, or are you trying to build the Pauper battle box?
Yeah, so my current one is all rarities, but I was also interested in working on a Pauper one, and I've been theorizing it the past 2 days. I want a battle box that isn't just Pauper rarities, but that highlights the fun stuff about Pauper to me.
Absolutely.
And try and keep it at the 200 card size, that basically all of the cards are commons. And it's all stuff that I really like about Pauper.
It is a singleton format, correct?
It can or cannot be. Everyone that I have played has been.
Okay. Yeah, I think BDM's, I think his is singleton, but I'm not 100% positive.
Yeah, no, the cool thing about Battle Box is it can be whatever you want it to be, which is something that I really like about it.
Makes sense.
But, so when I'm thinking about the Pauper Battle Box, I want artifacts to be really strong, but not in the traditional sense, I just want there to be cards like Chromatic Star that do nothing but fix your mana and draw a card. but like also if you have a Tog, then they have like another use. And so just thinking about stuff like that, I would really like to put together a Pauper battle box and play test it, have members of the community work on it.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
BattleBox is a great format that's actually relatively cheap to get started in, but what better way to do something that I've been loving recently in Magic and combine it with what we love all the time in Magic and Pauper than to just do a Pauper BattleBox that looks to simulate the format.
Yeah, maybe that could be like a an open Google Sheet or Google Doc in the Patreon or something like that.
Yeah, absolutely.
That anyone can add to or take out. Now, do you have a shared... I'm pretty interested in this concept. Do you have a shared graveyard?
No, so graveyards are separate. I don't see why you couldn't have a shared graveyard in some battle boxes. And the battle box that I have built, I like using the same, like both players share the same deck, but have different graveyards. And one of like the big reasons is because my battle box takes advantage of like retrace and flashback a lot.
Okay, and that's what I was thinking.
But like, if you didn't do much of that, but wanted like reanimator spells to kind of be a big thing, it might be fun to have a shared graveyard.
Ooh, so whatever they put in there, you could have access to, that sort of thing.
Exactly, or like delve or something like that. Like, I don't know, there's a lot of stuff you can do for it. Like, there was a card that I learned is too powerful for Battle Box in the way that my current one is built in Crystal Ball, which is literally it's an artifact that you can pay mana and tap it to scry to. But that basically means if you share a deck that you can control your opponent's draws forever, in a sense.
Ooh, I did not think about that.
Yeah, so that's like way too powerful.
Opt and all that kind of stuff even.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, so that's just way too powerful. Not cool.
Not cool.
Well, it could be cool, but so, whenever we discovered that, we basically had two fixes. Either both players take like a chunk off of the shared deck and just refill whenever they run out of their own personal deck, or cut Crystal Ball. We opted that Crystal Ball was not worth it.
That's probably the easiest remedy right there.
Yeah, so we replaced it with a card that does something similar, but only once in Serum Visions, in which you draw a card that's scry to. So in theory, you can fix your opponent's next draw and your next draw, and that's still very, very powerful and can change the game.
Right, but it's not like repetitive.
Yeah, it's not Crystal Ball.
That's another card too, Serum Visions. Not that it's unplayable in Pauper. I mean, it's a 1-mana cantrip basically, but it just doesn't see any play in Pauper, and I really wish it did.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think I have it in my Pauper cube, but that's really about it.
But yeah, so that's the thing about the Pauper Battle Box. I'm not sure if you had anything else that you wanted to add, but that's all the things that excite me about Pauper and Magic right now.
No, it really is. That's a good list I think we put together. I think a lot of people will share our sentiment on those. Notice it's pretty much everything besides the actual meta, besides what's going on with the format itself. So I think it's all great stuff.
And on that note, there's no Q&A this week because we forgot to ask.
Yes, we did.
That's going to do it for Common Knowledge. If you wanted to get in touch with us, you can find me on Twitter at JustGuyDad. Brad, where can they find you?
At Pauper_B on Twitter or BradDrackV on MTGO.
Or you can shoot us an email over at commonknowledgemtg@gmail.com. If you have any questions on the Pauper format, MTGO, or anything else, again, email us, get a hold of us on Twitter, leave a comment down below. We accept all submissions usually. Thanks again to our sponsor, PureMTGO.com, as well as the Constructed Criticism Network for letting us be a part of it. And last, but certainly not least, thank you for listening. Take very good care of each other.
And never stop battle boxing.